In the sprawling, glittering metropolis of Atlanta, a city built on new money and old hustle, there were levels to the game. There were corner boys slinging on Edgewood, shot callers running traps in the West End, and then, in a stratosphere all his own, there was Marcus Showtime Black. He wasn't just in the game, he was the league commissioner. His empire, built on a complex network that stretched from the ports of Savannah to the sun-drenched cul-de-sacs of the Hollywood Hills, was a masterclass in logistics and discretion. His product moved with the silent efficiency of a Fortune 500 company, and it had made him a king. His kingdom was headquartered not in a stash house, but in a stunning two-story glass-walled penthouse overlooking Piedmont Park. From his balcony, he could see the glittering spine of Peachtree Street, a river of light that flowed with the money and power he commanded. Marcus was disciplined, ruthless, and always 10 steps ahead. He trusted few and feared none. But his one weakness, his one beautiful, intoxicating weakness, was named Simone. He first saw her at Onyx, the legendary club where Atlanta's rappers, athletes, and power brokers came to play. She wasn't just dancing on the main stage. She was holding court, a magnetic force pulling the energy of the entire room toward her. A goddess with curves that defied physics, a waist you could circle with two hands, and a cascade of jet black hair that seemed to have a life of its own. But it was her eyes that snared him. They held a fierce intelligence, a burning ambition that he recognized instantly because it was the same fire that burned in his own soul. That night, he didn't just make it rain. He caused a hurricane of $100 bills that silenced the room. He introduced himself not as a drug dealer, but as an importer of luxury goods, a title that was, in its own way, true. He learned she was a Georgia State student, dancing to pay for tuition and to fund a small online fashion boutique she ran with fierce determination. He was captivated. Their courtship was a whirlwind tour of Atlanta's elite circles. He took her from the sticky floors of Onyx to the plush, velvet booths of Umi Sushi in Buckhead, where the waiters knew his name and his favorite table. He bought her a black-on-black G-Wagon, a rolling fortress, and watched with a surge of pride as she navigated the chaotic traffic on Lenox Road, looking every bit the queen of the city. He didn't just buy her clothes. He shut down a wing of Phipps Plaza for an afternoon and told her to buy the store. He loved draping her in Dior and Chanel, not as a trophy, but as the armor he felt she deserved in a world that had given her nothing. He moved her into his penthouse, and her first morning there, watching the sunrise over the park, she wept. No one had ever seen her as more than just a body. Marcus saw her as an empress, and wherever Simone went, her best friend Keisha was never far behind. Keisha was sharp-tongued, observant, and equally ambitious. But her ambition was curdled with a bitterness Simone never seemed to notice. She was Simone's ride or die, her confidant, the sister she never had. Marcus, trusting Simone's judgment, welcomed Keisha into their inner circle. She was at every lavish dinner, on every private jet trip, a permanent fixture in their new life. But Marcus, a man who read people for a living, saw the subtle signs. When he gifted Simone a Cartier bracelet dripping with diamonds, Keisha would say, "Wow, girl, you're so lucky. Some of us have to work for our jewelry," with a laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. When they would lounge by the penthouse pool, Keisha would look at Simone's flawless body and make a slick comment. "If I had that, I'd have a king wrapped around my finger too." To Simone, it was just Keisha being Keisha, a little edgy, a little jealous, but always her girl. To Marcus, it was the quiet hiss of a snake in the garden. He filed it away. If you're enjoying this story, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next episode. One rain-slicked evening, the city lights blurring into a watercolor painting below them, Marcus pulled Simone onto the balcony. A tense deal had just closed, flooding his accounts with another 7 figures. The risk was high, the reward higher. "This life, it's a tightrope, baby," he said, his voice uncharacteristically serious as he wrapped his arms around her. "I've got it all mapped out, but there's always a chance of a storm. And if that storm ever comes for me, I need to know you're safe, that you're taken care of." He gave her a key, plain and unremarkable. "There's a storage unit off Howell Mill, Unit 714, It's under a name you don't know. Inside, there's an old, unplugged freezer. The false bottom comes up. There's $2 million in there, vacuum sealed. It's our just-in-case fund. Our rainy day money. He looked her deep in the eyes. If they ever take me, you don't wait. You don't fall apart. You go there, you take that money, and you build a new life. A legitimate one. You become the CEO, I know you are. You promise me? Tears streamed down her face as she nodded, her heart aching with the weight of his words. I promise, Marcus, she whispered, kissing him with a desperate passion. But I'm not going anywhere. I'll wait 1,000 years for you. It was a promise made in the heart of a kingdom that was about to crumble. A month later, he decided it was time. Time to get out. He had enough. He wanted the legitimacy he promised her. He made a reservation at the Garden Room, a ridiculously lavish, plant-filled restaurant that felt like a fairy tale. In his pocket was a custom-designed 10-carat cushion-cut diamond ring. Tonight, he would propose. Tonight, he would tell her the 5-year exit plan was now a 1-year plan. As they were seated, Simone's phone buzzed. It was Keisha. Girl, where are you? It looks like a movie. Simone laughed and described the restaurant. Wow, must be nice, Keisha replied, her voice dripping with that familiar, saccharine envy. Well, have fun. You deserve it. The call ended. A seemingly innocent check-in. It was anything but. As the waiter poured their champagne, Marcus reached for the ring box. He began his speech, his voice low and full of a love so profound it was tangible. Simone, from the moment I saw you, I knew. He never got to finish. The doors of the restaurant burst open. It wasn't local cops, it was the feds. A dozen agents in tactical gear, their movements precise, their red laser sights dancing across the white tablecloths. Someone had talked. Someone knew not just his business, but his exact location at his most vulnerable moment. If you're enjoying this story, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next episode. The arrest was quiet, professional, and utterly devastating. As they led him away in cuffs, his eyes locked on Simone. He saw the terror on her face, but he tried to send her a message with his eyes. Remember the plan. Be strong. What followed was a year-long legal war. Simone played the part of the devoted, heartbroken fiancé perfectly. She was a fixture on the front bench of the courtroom, her face a mask of dignified sorrow, her designer outfits chosen for their somber elegance. She hired the most expensive, shark-like defense attorneys in Atlanta, paying them from a slush fund Marcus had established. She was his rock, his public face of loyalty. And Keisha was right there by her side, a loyal lady in waiting. She held Simone's hand during damning testimony. She brought her coffee. She whispered encouragements. You're so strong, girl, Keisha would say. He's going to beat this. But you have to be realistic. If he doesn't, you know what he told you to do. You have to take care of yourself. That's what he would want. She was planting seeds of doubt, framing selfishness as loyalty. The trial was a media circus. The prosecution laid out Marcus's entire empire, piece by piece. The evidence was overwhelming. The star witness was his former high-level lieutenant, a man Marcus had trusted like a brother. His testimony a brutal nail in the coffin. The jury was out for less than a day. The verdict, guilty on all counts. The sentencing came a month later. Marcus stood before the judge, defiant and proud. The sentence was handed down like a death blow. 10 years in a federal penitentiary. From the defendant's table, Marcus looked at Simone. He saw her shoulders slump, saw a single perfect tear roll down her cheek. He was being taken away for a decade, but he found a strange comfort in knowing he had provided for her. She would be safe. She would be waiting. The first 3 months inside were hell. Marcus was no longer a king. He was a number, but he was a survivor. He used his reputation and his wits to navigate the brutal prison politics. His mind already focused on one thing, getting back to Simone. He wrote her every single day, passionate, hopeful letters filled with plans for their future. For the first month, he received no reply. He told himself the mail was slow. Then one of his letters was returned. Stamped across the front in bold red ink were the words, "Return to sender. No longer at this address." A cold dread, colder than the concrete floor of his cell, began to creep into his heart. He called in a favor from one of his loyalists, still on the outside. "Find her," he ordered over the crackling prison phone. "Check the penthouse. Check her mother's place. Find my fiancé." The call back a week later was the beginning of his new reality. "She's gone, boss," the voice on the other end said, heavy with regret. "The penthouse is empty. The G-Wagon was sold 6 weeks ago. Her boutique website is shut down. Her mother hasn't heard from her. She's vanished." If you're enjoying this story, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Marcus's world tilted. He thought back to the trial, to Simone's perfect performance. And then he thought of Keisha, her supposed best friend, always whispering in her ear. He made another call. "Find Keisha," he commanded. This time the news was different. Keisha hadn't vanished. In fact, she was doing very well. She had just put a down payment on a new condo in Buckhead and was driving a new Porsche Panamera. The timeline was damning. The down payment was made the week after Simone disappeared. And then came the final, soul-crushing piece of the puzzle, delivered by a contact who had a source inside the U.S. Attorney's Office. The tip that had led to the initial investigation, the one that had put his lieutenant in a position to be flipped. It wasn't from a rival. It was an anonymous tip, a tip made by a woman who knew his exact dinner reservation at the garden room that night. It all clicked into place with sickening clarity. The innocent phone call from Keisha, her constant whispers to Simone to take care of herself. Keisha hadn't just been a supportive friend. She had been the serpent in their garden, the architect of his downfall. She had likely encouraged Simone to run, helped her disappear, and taken a hefty finder's fee for her troubles. And Simone had listened. She had chosen the money over the man. She hadn't just left him. She had danced on the grave of their life together and fled with the inheritance. In the darkness of his cell, 2,000 miles from Atlanta, the man known as Showtime died. The love, the passion, the hope, it all burned away, leaving behind something cold, hard, and terrifyingly patient. He had 10 years. 10 years to plan. 10 years to plot. He would serve his time, and he would rebuild. But his new foundation would not be love. It would be revenge. He would find Simone, no matter what name she was using, no matter where she was hiding. And as for Keisha, oh, he had a special plan for her. She thought she had gotten away with a piece of his kingdom. He would let her believe it. When he got out, he would get close to her. He would use her, just as she had used Simone, as a stepping stone to his ultimate prize. The Prince of Peachtree was dead. A new man, a ghost fueled by betrayal, was about to be born.